Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Monday afternoon. It's noon here in American Central Time.
Yes.
It's 10 a.m. for Shane. It's time for Palantalk. It's Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Paro. I'm joined by my good friend Shane Yirak of the Firebrand Project. We're here on Banner and Backbone for Palantalk for episode, I think it's at 25. I may
25?
have screwed our counting up, but it's now episode 25.
It's somewhere. It's somewhere.
It's
It's north of 20. It's north
yeah,
of
we
20. That's
we're
an
closing in
accomplishment.
on 30.
Yeah.
And we're talking about American tech fueling global wars and
Yeah.
fueling global tensions and everything that's going on around the world uh, in a military sense and the teardown of a lot of our old allyships and world order all can be linked back to American tech and cryptocurrency and the tech bros and the shitheads who are there. So with that, Shane, brother, how are you doing today, man?
I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see all you wonderful folks out there joining us today. I was thinking, you said 25. I think for 30, we should have Peter Thiel come on the show. I think he should be
Oh,
a special guest for episode 30. We
that'd
have
be
a
an
show
interesting
all
guess.
about you. It's all about you, Peter. Like, come on down. Let us interview you. So standing offer, Peter, I know you're on the internet. I know, Palantir, Gotham scraping the web. So standing offer for you on Palantalk. We want to
Yeah.
have you. We'd love to talk to you about your
Why the fuck you're doing what you're doing?
plan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Who
guys,
the fuck you think you are and why you're doing it?
yeah, like we just kind of want to pick your brain, We know you basically control the government, so we can't stop you. We just want some insight into you right now.
Yeah, we just want to know what you're thinking, man.
What are you
Like,
doing? Yeah.
help us out. Get us some inside thoughts. Tell us what's going on. Yeah, Palantine Day celebration. Thanks, Chris. I like that.
Valentine's Day.
Do a
Oh,
Palantine Day
no.
celebration. I
Oh.
mean, open invite too. Like, I'm gonna be disgusted that I say this, but Elon Musk, come on. Like, we'll
Hey,
have you on. You won't enjoy the conversation. You'll probably leave 5 minutes into it, but you know, we'd have you on to ask you at
yeah,
least one or
absolutely.
two questions of why are you such a fascist prick?
Yeah,
Why do
also,
you like apartheid? Why do you want to take over America that gave you all this money that helped build all this capital for you? Why do you want to destroy that? Like,
yeah.
you're hurting yourself, dude. You're hurting yourself by hurting the rest of us.
Yep.
Get fucked, Elon.
Jared
Get fucked.
Kushner, you're welcome on if you want to pitch us all Gaza Riviera. I saw your slides. I saw a couple of your slides at Davos at the at World Economic Forum. So if you want to come down here as well and pitch Gaza Riviera to us, we're not billionaire investors, but we definitely want to hear what your plan is for the 2 million people in Palestine and how you're going to make their lives so much better. So please, Jared, also please come on the show and we can
I'm
talk
pretty
about
sure
that
I
as
could
well.
explain his plan. It's kill
Yeah,
them all
yeah,
and build a new city on top of their ashes. Because apparently that's what we do.
that's America.
That's America. We just want to kill people and build things on their ashes because
That's
we're
that's
fucking
America.
America. Take over the world with our guns and our
But
tech.
battleships, ballistic missiles, and freedom.
Freedom.
And
Yeah,
$1
spreading
trillion
that.
Pentagon package to buy missiles we can't possibly make. Fuck yeah. America.
Yeah,
Love
for a
it.
system that will never get built.
That's
For
right.
wars that should never happen because guess what? If we didn't provide the weaponry, the wars wouldn't happen. If we didn't build the weaponry in the US, the wars wouldn't happen around the world because we are the fuel of that fire. That's why
You
we
want to
started
know?
Palantalk because here we like tech
No
with no
fascism.
fascism.
We do like tech.
And tech is spreading fascism right now. Tech is fascism right now. The tech industry has become fascism. They have turned themselves into fascism,
It's
and
interesting.
we're here to fight it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because it's very it's true, but I also kind of want to say I don't know the idea, right? We always is techno fascism. There's the difference here too. Is like there's a nuance in there. It's that at least my belief is that you have the biggest exporter of the United States is corporate fascism. Okay, so the way our corporate business structure works, because of the way our economic system works, is that the people at the highest level of business in corporate America, okay, are fascists. They are. You don't become a billionaire without being a fascist. That's what we're learning. And at the very least, tolerating fascists at minimum, okay? Like being okay with them being fascists. The problem is that the United States has exported our business because of the value of being the international currency. Corporate fascism has been spread overseas. It's one of the deepest problems in Europe right now. Corporate fascism, because Europe is dealing with fascist business structures. That is what the reason it's so bad is, because the big seven are dominating the United States in every aspect. And so with all of this that we're seeing, this idea of techno-fascism, this export, it's all very similar in that sense. It's that you have the corporate, the corporate world, which is dominated by tech. And then at the same time, it really just, if our primary export was fucking food, right? Then for it to be the same, it would be the people who control the food are fascists, and everyone exports our food, right? So it's just whoever's in the most dominant position in the economy is really who's setting the trend. We have let fascists dictate the American business model for 50 plus years, minimum, probably 70. So if we just set an arbitrary line, which is not even, it's probably not even, I'm going to say Reagan, trickle down Reaganomics. Okay. Let's say that's when fascism really got the go ahead. In the 80s, you see corporate buybacks. At this point, we are 40 plus, 70. So we're like 50 plus years into corporate fascism. The markets they're not like viable in the same sense. Like, and I've told Nick, like, we have a really good example right now, happening right now, still ongoing, something I've been tracking for over a week now. Every single fucking dot, I'm dotting it down. And when I'm done, I am going to tell you guys one hell of a fucking story about the craziest market manipulation I've witnessed in my lifetime. I'm 25, so I'm sure they've done crazy shit like this before. But in terms of what we're seeing, dude, we're seeing this corporate fascism, this techno-fascism, and it's permeating out from the United States, and it's the insatiable hunger for resources that's driving this trend that we're seeing. And, I know, Nick, you have a couple examples and stuff and as well, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I want to make sure we talk about today is our big focus in we're fueling the fires of division and discontent around the world. And one of the things we need to do is take a look into which companies are doing that and where in the world they're impacting these things. And Shane and I have spent a decent amount of time talking about the Ukrainian front, because that is a really important front. Mm-hmm. It's an important front on the global war against fascist takeover. There's also a lot of other places around the world that we need to talk about that are just as important and are just as influential in the end result of either fascism spreading or stopping. One of those is Iran. And Shane, you have been following Iran a lot and have been talking about it. And before the show, we were talking about what the end goal in Iran might actually be, because the U.S. is sending a lot of force towards Iran. The U.S. is advancing it would be the Israeli narrative to basically destroy Iran. Because we're in bed with Netanyahu and Putin and the dickheads around the world. I want could you go into a little bit and give a brief overview of like what's happened in the last couple days or so around Iran with the buildup of military tech, and what you think the end goal may be around the Strait of Hormuz, because this is all about resource domination. And then I'll drop some links in the Substack chat here as well for folks is some articles I've been looking up on Ground News that I want to go into around. There's one around Iran and the AI surveillance system that they're putting in. Sounds very eerily similar to what's going on in the US. And what happened in China. And then I also want to touch on what's going on in New Mexico with a child exploitation trial around Meta that I just found, because I think this is one of those that we can help, like that how the Epstein files wraps into fucking everything that's going on in the world. Meta is a part of it. Mark Zuckerberg is a part of it. The techno-fascists, the crypto-fascists are all part of it. It is all part of the same system. And so our approach hasn't been specifically here on the Epstein files, but there are people who are in them, and those companies are making a lot of really bad decisions. One of them is Meta, which owns Facebook, or was Facebook. So let's get into the Iran part, and then we'll move across the world back into our hemisphere.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is, if you guys want to like get a really, really solid in depth, I'm not going to be able to give you everything I have here, to just so like, I just want to be like in that sense. But what I can tell you is there's a newsletter I wrote last week. It's literally titled, it was like maybe a week ago. Still is valuable, where I go crazy in depth for like half of a newsletter into all of the things that they've moved to the Middle East. The reason I think the United States wants to strike Iran, and you know what me and Nick were talking about too, but it's like there's a lot of uncertainty, but I do document all of the resources up to that point that have been moved. But I'll give you guys this, like a couple examples, and maybe this will, you know, make your eyebrow shoot up, Nick. But they actually are pulling high altitude missile systems, THAADs, which are the most advanced missile interceptor system we have. Okay, so it's for the super high altitude, hypersonic missiles. So they've moved one. Get where they took this from, Nick. Okinawa. They removed a THAAD system from Okinawa, and they flew that to the Middle East. And if you're thinking that's fucking weird, that sure is, because Okinawa is what protects Taiwan. So they are pulling resources from directly around Taiwan to the Middle East right now. Another example, there was 3 Stratotankers that have been in Spain since 2023, okay, in Europe. So suddenly, suddenly 3 days, like a week ago, they all just go to Jordan, okay? You see the same with abundance. I saw a satellite picture. I think I saw at least 12 Patriot batteries like lined up on a tarmac. Like, guys, so much. There's a certain narrative that they've wanted to build. They've successfully built, actually. It's one of the most successful propaganda operations in the world. It's this invulnerability, this idea of entirely superior. The United States being entirely superior militarily to everyone under every circumstance. There's absolutely no way that the United States could lose. What we're seeing right now is the best example of that's not true, because they're stripping various critical regions of the world. Why would you pull resources out of Europe while Ukraine is actively under invasion? Those tankers, their job is to fuel the F-16s and the fighter jets and all the things probably for NATO operations, those kind of things. Because Stratotankers, believe it or not, they're pretty rare. People don't have a lot of them. Our fleet is huge. Yes, it's aging. Yes, it's old, but they still do the job. Why would you move them out of Europe? The question we have to ask ourselves is, what is so important that they are willing to basically take places like Taiwan, which are supposedly like highest priority? Why are they moving these things? I was telling Nick beforehand, doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. It really, like, and I'm saying, like, I'm genuinely confused when I say this. There's only one thing I can think of, and I could be wrong, but to go in this hard on Iran, the only thing I can think of is the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, it's the only thing really valuable
The faucet
right there
for global oil.
Yeah.
right? You turn it off. And they can basically, the idea, I think, is that they put pressure on China to change what they're doing, because the critical mineral situation in the United States cannot be understated just how fucked we are right now. Like, I cannot emphasize to you guys how bad it is. They have done such a good job at basically downplaying anything other than Epstein and ICE, to the point where, just a little tangential example, we are currently experiencing one of the most traumatic weather events in the United States in the history of ever. We have seen the polar vortex slip, and it is annihilating us right now in America. You know what we don't see covered? What's happening, the cost of life.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, at this point, I'm almost certain the mass murder, genocide of at least several thousand people in ICE detention centers due to exposure alone. So
yeah, and that's something that we will have to,
we are going to talk about this.
We're going to have to reconcile with, and make sure there's a way that things like that can be identified and proven. Like, it would be a safe assumption to think that folks died in these concentration camps during this incredible winter weather that we've had for like 3 weeks.
Yep.
Like, don't forget, this weather has been going on for most of January. We're now in February, and we're just breaking out of it. Like, it was 2 or 3 weeks of just straight cold, like cold.
Lethal
We have a homeless population that nobody ever talks about in the US that is just dying because there aren't services and tools for them, because they have been taken away, because they were taken away to fund ICE. They were taken away to hurt people in our country. The homeless population is incredibly large in the US, and most of it's manufactured. Most of the homeless population in the US is a manufactured problem, and could easily be solved if we decided to invest in ourselves on social services and social programs that work, and kept people off the streets, and drug rehabilitation centers and work programs that actually did things. The US would be a lot better off. We wouldn't have a homeless population. We could build houses instead of breaking down doors. We could build shelters and convert old malls that are destitute and like no longer in use, convert those into multi-space living centers for the homeless communities, and rehabilitation and job work centers, and make them community centers again. We could do all of those things, but we're choosing to spend all of our money on a government level to hurt our own people. That's what they've chosen to do, to hurt the American people, and then hide it. And then hide it in plain sight. Like, what Shane and I are talking about aren't hidden topics. The ideas, the globalization of corporate fascism isn't a hidden topic. We talk about it all the time. Others talk about it all the time too. That said, it is much less important in the algorithmic feeds than Epstein is. It's much less important in the algorithmic feeds because they don't want the folks who built or who currently maintain most of the pieces of the internet, say AWS, Oracle, are all owned by folks who we cannot trust. So we cannot trust the dispersal of that information from them.
Yeah.
And so when we say, hey, this is just as important, it is. Yeah. It's just as important to know that the US pulled out Patriot batteries from Japan that were that were there to protect Taiwan, because that part of that is opening the door so that China can go invade Taiwan, because we set the precedent that the US or any global power can just go into a country, whether there's a real reason or not, kidnap its leader, and then do nothing. We did that in Venezuela. We kidnapped the president of Venezuela. Do I like Nicolas Maduro? No. Do I think he was a good leader? Fuck no. I don't really, but also at the same time, we wasted a whole bunch of money. We killed a whole bunch of people, recklessly killed a whole bunch of people. And We haven't made it safer. We haven't made anything safer. We didn't make Venezuela safer. We didn't make the US safer. We didn't earn money for the US. Like we talk about, the number one religion in the US is green, is money, it's capitalism. Corporate fascism is the number one religion or the number one ideology of that. Guess what? They didn't even do anything. They didn't even get the things that they wanted. They're talking about natural resources and nobody wants oil. But here we are invading a country that is known about oil, but not for much else. Like we did that. That's why we're going, that's why we talk about Greenland. That's why we talk about the importance of the ice shelf in Greenland and the geothermal energy that they want to tap into, and the freedom cities that they want to make there so that they can rape your children and fucking make themselves immortal in their weird AI tech bubbles, that they don't care about any of us and you don't work for money, you work just to be able to sit there and live. Like and stay alive while they get to party and kill our children and rape people and hurt the world and rape the world at the same time. So this is just as important as Epstein, because it also fucking factors in. Because guess who's in the Epstein files? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates.
Yeah. Do you remember when there was that one email that came out forever ago, right? It was, when I say forever, it all feels like, but there was a particular line where Epstein's emailing, I think it was either Elon or Thiel. I think it was Thiel, where he's like, oh, something about Woody Allen, right? You want to go see Woody Allen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we know now from the files that Woody Allen refers to raping children because we've seen it used again and again in other Epstein correspondence. We've seen a literal email that implicates that Peter Thiel was raping children. Otherwise, Epstein wouldn't have offered. Everyone knows what a fucking Woody Allen is in the Billionaire Club, and now we do too. Okay? But there's a good example, right, of this direct linkages in that sense. And I know we kind of went really far away.
We went far, but it's all important.
But it's all connected. It's this idea that also Iran offers a spectacle. So I always say, where there's spectacle, look at what they do. You know what's happening right now too? I said this earlier, the largest, craziest market manipulation I have ever seen surrounding silver and gold and other essential metals and minerals, which was set up in late 2025 when they adjusted the natural materials registry for the Department of Energy, in which they elected to make silver one of those materials. And then we saw silver dolphin dive off of a cliff into a volcano and crush its own value. Well, you also saw JP Morgan do the thing JP Morgan does every single time they do an Epstein-style crash of the market. You don't believe me? Look at Zev Shalev's work. We have a fucking track record of every time JP Morgan has manipulated and crashed the markets. JP Morgan has come out every single time better than before. You know why? Because JP Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon are the official bank of fascism, with their co-partner, the official investment agency of fascism, BlackRock. Larry Fink and Jamie Dimon are the financial backbone of the Epstein network. BlackRock is trillions of dollars in CIA money, I'm sure, that's been fucking funneled out of this to build a giant, it's a spectacle. And this is what kills me about Epstein, because it's not that Epstein's not important, like Nick is saying, but every time things get crazy around Epstein, it's crazier what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Right now, whatever they're doing, when Epstein goes crazy, and when there's tens of thousands of people streaming like right now, and all of it's about Epstein, and we're sitting here telling you that they are literally, that they just told us that your investments and your retirement and every single dollar you have in the markets right now is vulnerable to pure manipulation to the point where they assign the value of those assets. I can tell you that because here silver's down, but in China and London, it's still trading at record highs. This doesn't make sense. Silver is the scarcest metal on the planet right now. Why is it in the hole? Because silver has had controls on it since January. The United States is not getting any silver. The only option they have is to liquidate US markets and purchase our physical silver to fix their stockpiles, which are fucking empty. But you know what everyone is talking about? Epstein. Is Epstein important? Yes. Do we need to move the fuck on and trust some people to cover it and bring us things that are extremely relevant? Yes. Iran serves that same purpose because they are doing huge things right now, guys. Huge things. The government has been vertically integrated entirely under Teal, whether it's the Treasury, whether it's fucking NASA. Andrew Will's driving around the Mars rovers. They're fucking with our space talk. Now Peter Thiel is autonomously driving the rovers on Mars. There is not a single government agency that has not been in some way co-opted by the techno-fascists. They do this thanks to Epstein. They can thank Epstein for still contributing to their master plan years after his death. Years after his death.
And I'm going to see if
why we need to talk about corporate fascism, because it's designed to happen quietly in the background whilst the spectacle continues.
Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll take this as an opportunity also to see if I can get Zev Shalev to join us, because he and I talk in the background every so often, and we've had multiple shows together and we do reporting together. And he, like you said, he's an expert on the financial side. Like, his aspect of the Epstein Chronicles wasn't about the pedophilia specifically. It was about the financial aspects. It was about the things behind it. It was about the really, really insidious pieces that got covered up because it dealt with child rape. Because they did something so explosive, they could get away with the rest of the stuff. That's why they did what they did. That's why child rape and child abuse is the thing they choose to do, because it's power.
Yep.
And it makes everybody else repulsed. But in that repulsion and in that like emotional outburst that we are all having about this, because we're all fucking disgusted about this, we lose all the rest of the context behind it, because we stop at pedophilia and child rape and go, that's fucking awful. And then most people don't go, okay, we've got Ellie Leonard, we've got Lev Parnas, we've got Zev Shalev, we've got Dean Blundell, we've got Kate Justice, we've got Tara Palmieri, Wajahat Ali, so many others going hard into the Epstein files all the time. Let them. We don't need to, because they're covering that. And yeah, Andrea, I'll get to your question here in a second. I see it. We don't need to cover the specifics of the Epstein files unless it directly correlates to what we're talking about with these global systems. And a lot of it does. Like, a lot of it really does. That's why we talk about Peter Thiel. Like, one of our first episodes, we were like, this dude's gross as shit. He's in the Epstein files, and it hadn't even come out. We were like, we know this guy's fucking gross.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is a child rapist. Like, I could see it. Like, you can see it on him. Like, he enjoys that type of grossness.
Yeah.
It's to hide the other things that they're doing too. Like, they hide their worst behaviors by doing the thing we all would find really bad. We don't find financial crimes as disgusting or abhorrent, and we don't prosecute them in the same way. But if you hide them behind something else, everybody forgets about them. And so these financial crimes have led to the creation of Palantir. That's why we started the show. Palantir is one of the biggest, most insidious groups of corporate fascism out there. Yeah, it's hiding in plain sight. And Andrea, don't worry, I am going to get back to your question. Is we let Palantir take over Israel because that was our choice as Americans. Israel is a client nation to the US, which means we pay for them. We basically owned Israel. They have become an independent client nation because they don't really listen to us. We listen to them in a lot of things. And I'm Jewish. I have nothing wrong with Israelis. I have nothing wrong with my other Jewish compatriots. I do have a problem with fascists. And Benjamin Netanyahu and his government are fascists. And a lot of the Israelis fall into pro-fascism right now, or just don't care. They're
Yeah.
destroying Gaza, and they used Palestinians as the testing ground for Palantir's corporate fascism, for Palantir's surveillance state. We allowed Palantir to become what it is by spreading corporate fascism and military industrial fascism to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so before we get too far afield, Andrea, you asked a question. Is there also a correlation between the dates of the tariffs on Canada, steel, aluminum, copper, and the markets in Europe, from what you've investigated, Shane? I would assume there is some correlation, but maybe not full causation in this
Yeah.
situation.
There's definitely correlation, right? There's always correlation in the markets, right? And it is important or significant to point out that Canadian tariffs actually ultimately resulted in a longer term decoupling between the United States and Canada. More significant than the tariffs themselves is the fact that Canada has fully pivoted away from the United States. Mark Carney, when he said at the World Economic Forum that the middle powers need to step away from this type of hegemony, and they need to step away from American imperialism and not let themselves be bullied. He meant that because Carney met with China, and these deals that are going through, again, the international element of the Iranian spectacle is what they're doing on a global level, what they've done successfully in the United States for a long time, which is just pull everybody's attention to one specific thing, and then they do all this other shit. Okay. The reason we're seeing so much there is because of the massive market shifts in a global sense. Canada's tariffs affect the United States because Canada is choosing to decouple its trade relationship from the United States, its independence on the United States. So you're correct. However, I will say that I am firmly of the belief that the most dominant factor in the world in terms of U.S. foreign policy shifts is Chinese controls, Chinese economic coercion. And I think that the world is realizing that no one can get away from China, right? You have the Chancellor Merz is visiting Xi Jinping this month. We had the EU make what was called the mother of deals with India, which is the biggest bilateral trade deal we've seen this year. Massive. India is one of the largest markets in the world. Their concern in the EU in particular is the hit to the auto industry if they decouple from the United States. Opening up a market like India to European vehicles allows them to proceed with further decoupling. You saw the EU and Australia work on finalizing a trade deal that's been dead for 5 years because they couldn't come to an agreement. But now suddenly we're seeing these deals. I'm telling you guys, we're seeing boom, 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 boom. The world is shifting to China because they're acknowledging the fact that China and the UK and China had a deal. Exactly. Okay. Like the list goes on. The world is realizing that China has the dominant supply of these things. Simultaneously, pretty much the entire African continent and the Middle East is extremely unstable and unreliable, which means that minerals and resources that would typically come from those regions are less than reliable at the moment. China's control, because it domestically is able to produce many of these things, is tantamount. There is no way the US can like this whole stockpile. I go on. It's like this big circle, right? So like the tariffs backfired, and now we're at the end of this circular loop here, where China also benefits from everybody. They supply Russia, they take what little money Russia will give them, and they're taking everyone else's money. And if the world has to turn to them entirely, they're going to make up the shortfall with trade with the US. So it's this idea of hegemony, and it all started with those Canadian steel tariffs and those things, because what steel we're not getting from China, that would have come from Canada. Where's that? It's not coming anymore. It doesn't. It's they've economically hamstringed themselves. And it's like what we're seeing is things that don't make sense, right? Like using all of our military power in Iran for something that really, my confidence level is not high when I talk about this. So you're so on point, guys. And if you're looking at these things, I want you to stop, like, unless you see some form of prosecution for the Epstein files, okay? Unless you see like a headline that's like, this person is going down for what's found in the Epstein files, pay attention. There's going to be, everyone is digging around in the Epstein files for different obscure facts because it generates a ton of views and it generates a ton of traffic. What needs more traffic is everything else, because we know that it's all connected too, right? So you can always reverse things too, right? Here's the genius of it. If we have access to 3 million Epstein files, what you can do is start in the present and go back and find the source in the Epstein files. I promise you can do it. I promise, because it's how we do everything. That's how I've done all of my research, is go to the present and go back.
Yep.
This can help us, but it's much harder to go forward, because if you already have a conclusion, you're looking at cause and effect. Instead of looking for a cause and trying to find the effect, it's easier to go backwards from the effect to cause, and vice versa. We can use these things together, but also challenge other people you think do really good reporting. Be like, hey, I also want to hear from you about these other things. Like, let them know that you think Epstein's important, but like Epstein's not the most important thing, because what Epstein built is modern day Israel. What modern day Israel is doing is what Epstein built. They're the same thing, and they're equally as important if we're going to say those two things are connected. We're watching the repercussions of everything we've seen in the United States happen on a global stage. And that's what corporate fascism is. That's the system that Epstein set up. And that's the system that Palantir will always be the hub. And the farther back we can connect Epstein and Thiel, the more it makes sense how he was able to do what he's done thus far. Because the roads that Epstein provided him into the government, he could not have achieved what he's done without them, right? So the Epstein files are so valuable. I bet you if we went in those 3 million files, we could find those. We could piece that together. But we have to look backwards. You have to look backwards at what's going on right now. So that's where corporate fascism can be the language we speak to go backwards into the Epstein files and find the source.
And that's actually that's one of the things that I do. Like, I don't focus on the main players when it comes to the Epstein files. I focus on the folks that we talk about. So I dropped a link in
the AP News one.
I think I dropped a link from Ground News just now around the pictures that they have of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg as guests at a wild Jeffrey Epstein party. I spent part of the weekend just putting up emails, correspondence between Epstein and Elon Musk. I did that because it's important for us to know when they started these relationships too, which for Elon Musk was around 2012, 2013, after Epstein was known to be a pedophile. After. Peter Thiel's was after. And what we have been really able to find out is that Epstein was, from what the biggest dump, was a Russian asset. And
Russia and Israel and all of this, right? It's crazy.
And all of this is exactly what Russia told us they were going to do when they, towards the end of the USSR, as they fell and became what they are now, is they said they would infiltrate the US and take it down without ever having to fire a shot. What they meant was they were going to fascize the US and divide us. We were too arrogant to believe that they ever would or could do that. And they did. And they did it. And you can see, because Howard Lutnick, our finance director in the US, or whatever he wants to fucking call himself.
Treasury? No, he's
Treasury, Secretary of Commerce
Commerce
Secretary,
Secretary.
was a business partner for a very long time with Jeffrey Epstein. Am I going to focus on him right now? No, unless
He was
his
his
name
neighbor.
starts coming up, in a whole bunch of other files around Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. And why I'm bringing up those names is because they are major players. Larry Ellison, Jeff Bezos, they are major players in the US internet dominance around the world and the
Yeah.
US internet fascism that has spread because of it, or the internet based fascism that has spread because of it. And we have to talk about them and the things that they are doing. So I wanted to bring us now towards the US again. We've talked about a little bit about Iran today. We have talked some about what has happened in Japan or what our thoughts are around Iran and the Strait of
Yeah.
Hormuz.
I feel like I did a horrible job closing that circle. I'm going to finish it in one sentence for you
Oh,
guys.
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. The United States wants to strike Iran. However, the United States is experiencing pushback from regional powers because they already are dealing with instability in the region. However, the United States is motivated by all of the economic pressures that we were talking about. The thing that we think is possible is that the motivation here could be for control over the Strait of Hormuz, which is effectively the oil pipeline, which might give them leverage over China on minerals. But we don't really know. What we are sure of is that they're stripping crazy assets that should not be taken from places that are being left defenseless because of what they want to do there. So we know
Correct.
it's important. We just really aren't sure what.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big point is Iran, they don't have a stated goal that we know of. We know it's going to include something about controlling the market for oil, because the other article that I dropped was an AP News article earlier in the show. I'll drop it again here in the chat. It's about the Iranian takeover or digital surveillance takeover in Iran. That is very eerily reminiscent of the digital surveillance system that is being built in the US. That is very, very reminiscent because it is being backed by the Chinese surveillance system that they have. And because we're more focused on bombing Iran,
I see where
because
you're going. I think
huh?
so. I think I see where you're going. Are you
Because
going somewhere with this?
hold on, let me see. Let me
You
see
are.
if I land where you're
Okay.
thinking. Because we're so focused on the bombing of Iran, we're not focused on the tech takeover of Iran and what that could imply in terms of US or Chinese domination in the country and sort of consuming it, because we are in the hemispherication of the world right now. And part of that would be the Middle East needs to be broken up between certain countries, China, Israel, and Russia. And I think Iran, because they have so much Chinese influence in them, is my thought is they're looking to be, they're sort of taking it over almost as a vassal state is what they would like to do, because then they could control rare earth minerals and oil on a vast scale. However, if we own the Strait of Hormuz, we then have leverage over China on seaway oil until they pipeline it, because then they don't need to go through the ocean. If
Which they're trying to do in Pakistan right now.
Yeah.
Which they're trying to do in Pakistan right
Yeah.
now. They're trying to get around the Strait of Hormuz. They're doing that by developing a pipeline. The problem with the pipeline, of course, is that there's a rebel faction in Pakistan who's backed by India, who's currently killing all the Chinese nationals trying to build it. Because, guys, it's geopolitics and nothing's that fucking easy. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think I think that where I was going, it's kind of rolled into that.
Mhm.
But what I was thinking, the other thing I can't get by is why the fuck did they fly the Night Stalkers out there, right? Like, it's one thing to firebomb a country. It's another thing to have Delta Force and, the Night Stalkers out there whose job is very specifically for covert operations. What I thought could be possible, I don't know. What if they want IP? What if they want to get their hands on Chinese surveillance IP? That would be in Iran. Could be. I don't know. Again, we're always asking why, what, because I don't know the answer. But that makes sense to me as well. Because maybe again, I like this. I like to look at things from this angle. Makes me feel better, but it also, I think it's more realistic. If you look at everything they do, not as an act of dominance, but as an act of desperation, it opens up an entirely new, different thought line for you to go down. And it's usually more accurate. When you're a dictator, Putin is getting his ass whooped, but all he does is project strength and confidence, right? That's the strongman image. If they're going to follow that model, we would expect them to, project that confidence all the same, but we need to look at why they're doing it. And it's a lot of it too is just it tracks back. It tracks back. And so we see this absolutely. And I think that's something to consider. Why would they have the special forces? Maybe they want to send some guys in there while the rest of Iran is burning and grab some tech, because China has a better surveillance state than we do. Way better. You can't go anywhere in China without your face being fucking scanned and uploaded into a database.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about way back when we talked about the Uyghur genocide and how they had implemented all of these things. If you've been with Palantalk a long time, I think that was like our sixth episode.
It was a while ago we talked about the Uyghurs.
It was before we even started numbering them. So it's that far back. But, right, it's really good. From an objective perspective, if you want to mass surveil your country, China's got the best product on the market. Full stop.
Yeah. And because we're America, and this is where we're going to then shift back into America. And no, this is great. This is great because it's important that we talk about like the stealing of tech, like business theft and idea theft and intel and IP theft is important. Like it's real. Like there are literal jobs out there for human intelligence collectors to become business intelligence collectors and steal business cards and take pictures and get insider information from others that they're not supposed to be able to. Ask me how I know, because I could have gone that route. I didn't, but that's an offer. That's like a real job, is going in and stealing business insider information and not getting caught with it. You think we're not going to do that on a military scale? Because we fucking do. Militaries do that all the time. That's why when our Apaches went down in Iraq at the beginning or partway through the Iraq War, when we were there, we went and recovered them because we don't want them to get our tech, because we don't want them to have any sort of access to the tech we have on certain systems. Just like the Chinese don't want us to get access to their drones, or the Russians don't want us to have access to their drones, or others, or we don't want to have access. Others have access to our drones. That's why they're so secret. And when they go down, you blow them up. Like there's a reason we do that. The US wants some of that tech. I think you're very right, is that they want the tech. How they want to use it, that's another question, because I think we on par have not the infrastructure for surveillance the way that China does, but I think we have the tech that matches, because I think Palantir has a sophisticated enough system that they would match or rival the Chinese state version. But we did that on a company level. We didn't even need a government to create it. We just let a company create it and said, here you go. We'll just pay you to do this.
If that's the case, a company is fucking way too powerful if they can create effectively a surveillance system in-house.
No company should have the power to manage state level infrastructure. State level infrastructure should only ever be managed by state. The ability to surveil an entire world should not be owned privately by a single person, because then it's ripe for abuse. Thinking about abuse and people with too much power, let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg's Meta real quick.
Oh my God.
I spent
way too much time. Meta's crazy. Just like the amount of open, transparent shit. Again, it's crazy. The amount of public domain information about Meta's corruption, literally them making 10% of their revenue off of scam ads last year. Like that's like $16 billion. from scamming people, from letting people get
on
scammed,
purpose.
right? This is like, I don't even know what's in this article, really. I skimmed it, but whatever it is, it's probably as bad or worse as them allowing fucking Russian propaganda and scam ads, and whoever will pay to advertise something doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? So like, this is that infrastructure. Literally, Nick's talking about, you're talking about national infrastructure to deliver curated propaganda, paid for curated propaganda to the American masses. That's what it is. That's what Zuckerberg is. And guess who started fucking Facebook? Guess who made Facebook possible? I'll give you a fucking secret. It's Peter Thiel. It's where he made all his seed money. He put in like 500K and walked out with like 5 billion or something. And then he used that money to start the Founders Fund and Palantir and all of those things. Facebook was the seed. Facebook and Meta is the seed. It's just like JP Morgan is the root of evil in our banking system. Meta is that root of evil from which all things grew from. And Zuckerberg was groomed by Thiel. Don't think for a second he fucking wasn't. So I don't know what this is about, but there's my little meta rant because I fucking hate those.
Yeah, no. So this case just there. So what's going on is I'll drop the article from AP News. I found this on Ground News. Thank you to Zeph Shaleb and Dean Blundell for having a discount code that I was able to use for the 5-stack to be able to get a Ground News subscription for I think 20% off, which is awesome because I use it a lot and it's my primary source of where I find a lot of articles that help fuel some of my other research. And one of those articles I found skimming Ground News before our show today while we were pulling up things that we really wanted to talk about in all of this is there is a case going on in New Mexico around, it is a trial focused on the dangers of child sexual exploitation on social media and whether Meta misrepresented the safety of its platforms, which is set to begin today in New Mexico. I brought this trial up and I found this, and I found this one kind of interesting is because we're living in a time right now where everything is coming out about pedophilia. And we have all known for a long time that Facebook prioritizes profit over safety. This trial is going to criminally prove that if they can. If their attorneys are able to do it well, they can criminally prove, oh, thanks for dropping that court. It was a 40% discount. They could criminally prove that Meta, under Mark Zuckerberg's leadership, purposely and willfully put profit over safety of children, which, guess what? That's illegal. There are child safety laws for the internet, and that's illegal as fuck. Which means New Mexico can prosecute them for this. And this is a lawsuit. This is like those old cases where like you would go onto a chat forum or police would go onto a chat forum and pretend to be an underage child and catch a child sex trafficker. This is that on Meta. They allow this to happen. Meta doesn't prioritize your safety in any way. We all know this. That's why we hate Meta. That's why none of us really use Meta. Yes, hi Facebook. We're streaming on you right now. Fuck you. Not you people on Facebook, but fuck Facebook. Because they allowed this to happen. They willfully allowed this to happen. And yes, New Mexico is also in the news because of Zorro Ranch for Epstein, where guess what? Elon Musk went to more than once and had multiple meetings with Jeffrey Epstein about adding and using Solar City to power the Caribbean island where they would have these child rape parties. Elon Musk is culpable as shit.
They're all right. There's no good.
And the thing is,
they don't exist.
So why I'm talking about this? Because evidence from the Epstein files. It is evidence. It is not hearsay. It is not. We need to look into this at all. The Epstein files contain evidence of child sex trafficking, rape, abuse, torture, murder, apparently like cannibalism in there somewhere. Like there's some fucked up shit in these things. And Elon Musk, the Saudi prince, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, all of these folks all met Epstein and knew him, were in his circles multiple times. Peter Thiel's name appears more than once in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Elon Musk's name appears way more than once in the Epstein files. And this is all evidence. It's documented proof. This could be brought to court as evidence, not as hearsay, but as evidence that can be used. And if Mark Zuckerberg's name keeps popping up in the Epstein files, you damn well are going to be sure that the Arizona or the New Mexico prosecutors are going to bring that shit up. Because a person who parties with Jeffrey Epstein and goes to the island or goes to Zorro Ranch is going to protect profit over child safety. And that is what is being proven. Shane, you're facing down now.
Whoa.
Carl went all upset on you.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what that was.
It's a good thing you were wearing pants today.
I was wearing shorts.
It's a good thing you're wearing shorts today.
Yeah.
Talk about we were talking about inappropriate things, and then your camera was like crotch shot. Here
That's crazy. I'm so sorry, everybody. I really apologize.
But like this case is, I think this case is going to be really important. It came out of nowhere, at least in my eyes. Like I didn't know anything about it. It's probably been building for a while, but the sexual exploitation case on social media is going to be huge going forward, because guess what? We have all the fucking evidence coming out.
Check this out. I just looked at this. I looked this up because I was curious. A state has more leverage in terms of prosecution if the state where the company is headquartered sues the company. That means if you live in Colorado, your fucking AG should not sleep until they have 14 cases open against Palantir. Okay? California, Meta's here. We should be fucking coming for Meta in California. They still don't have control over state law. Meta's located in California. Apple has a headquarters in California. I think Google might be headquartered because Silicon Valley is in California.
I believe they're headquartered in California.
Wherever they are. There's 50 states and there's 50 AGs. What's happening in New Mexico, and your point, everything in the Epstein files can be submitted as evidence to these cases. It can be submitted to the record as evidence and considered, which means that we have more ammo than ever to prosecute these people, but it must be done on a state level. Californians, I'm in California. Let's figure the fuck out how to open up a bajillion cases on state levels. The states want to fight back. Don't fight the government. Fight the corporations. The Epstein files prove that the corporations are the government. They're the same thing. So you go for the vulnerable part. If we're David fighting Goliath, do we try and jump up and stab him in the face? No. We fucking slice his ankles or shoot him with the sling. Something that works for us, right? So, not the hard thing. Not the tough stuff. States could do this right now. This is something I was able to find this out with a fucking Google search.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because what this case is the first standalone trial from state prosecutors in a stream of lawsuits. And this is from inside a secondary article on AP. About this case. It's the first standalone trial from state prosecutors in a stream of lawsuits against Meta. What they are doing is they're setting the precedent for other states to be able to follow.
Yes.
Because the allegations in this case are not about the content management or the ownership of the content. They're not trying to hold Meta accountable for the content itself,
damages,
but rather for pushing that content through specific algorithms that proliferate the material and make it more harmful. They're going after the algorithmic issue, the root cause. They are saying it's not Meta, Facebook, the platform, the problem. That's the problem. It's Facebook's algorithm, which is pushing this material to be addictive and harmful to children. That that is what we have been waiting for forever. We have been waiting for someone in the US to take up the arms and say the algorithm that has been created that is pushing the content is the problem and is making the content worse. It is making it harmful for our children, which is why, Shane, I'm glad you said what you just said about other states needing to step up too. We've been asking for states and state AGs and others to do this. This case in New Mexico against Meta for the proliferation of child porn, basically, or for entrapment of children to lead them into sexually exploitative situations through algorithmic means. When the state wins this case against Meta, it's not against Mark Zuckerberg himself. He was dropped as, I'm making sure I give you guys good information on this case. He was dropped as one of the defendants in the case. However, he was deposed for it, and I'd love to hear that deposition in full at some time and maybe have Ellie Leonard transcribe it because she's the fucking best transcriber in the world. And I trust what would do to transcribe, and then we could go over the transcript in detail and not have to have her do anything on it other than transcribe it. I'm going to ask her if we can ever get our hands on that deposition, if she would be willing to do something like that for us, because Ellie's fucking awesome. However, the important part of this, and the important part of this is when the state wins this case, in my hope, is that it's seeking changes to algorithms that can serve up harmful material and criticizing end-to-end privacy encryption that can prevent the monitoring of communications with children for safety. This is where we have to have smart people in charge and smart people who are prosecuting crimes, because the result of something like this could end end-to-end privacy. And that is not what we want. I want end-to-end data security and privacy to still live, because I want my data to maintain and be secure and be private and be able to be mine and not my own. They are aiming for the algorithm. And that's where smart people come into these conversations that are way smarter than we are and way better at law and legal jargon than we are on any of this. Is the focus of this has to, in my estimation, has to stay on the algorithms and not the encryption, because the encryption isn't the problem. It's the algorithmic content push that is forcing children to be unsafe, to have unsafe situations, to put them into areas where, they could be taken, led astray. I have kids that come into my house all the time, and one of the things I remind them every single time that they're on a game like Roblox is, and if they're trying to chat in a game, is, do you know this person? Have you met them? Are they your friend? And if the answer is no, you better turn that fucking chat off. And you aren't friends with them.
I would love
if they're not a peer of yours, you're not friends with them on the internet. No. If you don't know this person in face, like in real life, IRL, I don't let my kids be friends with them. And as like helicoptery parent as that might sound, it's also the only right thing to do. Yes, Roblox does have a lot of issues.
Roblox is for
Roblox has a lot of issues.
Roblox is for trafficking children.
Yeah, and there's a reason I watch when I have if my kids are playing games on it, because I can't say no to them having fun with their friends. But I can monitor the games that they play, and I can make sure that when they're playing certain games, they say, maybe stay in the living room where I can hear you and see you the whole time. Even if I don't want to listen to you guys playing your game, like whatever fake Call of Duty style games it is, like that these Roblox folks make one-offs of, like, as long as I know what you're doing and seeing, and you can ask questions to me, and I can be part of this discussion while you're in the game, that's different.
Yeah.
Because then I can help prevent child solicitation on electronic devices that would lead to my children or somebody else's child being taken or assaulted. I know somebody in my life that has happened to, and I will never allow that to happen to others who are related or near adjacent to me or anybody else. So this case is super important. Just by the way.
Yeah, I want to read one of the last paragraphs in this article, okay? Why this is important to me, because I'm young. By the majority of the people you're going to see on this platform, I'm among the youngest people you're going to see doing what we're doing, other than Sherrod, who's multiple times cooler than me. He's
what, 6 years younger than you?
Yeah, he's crazy. He's a beast.
Like,
7,
that's
I think.
Nuts.
I think he's 19. So
he's 19,
7.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, I want to read this to you, and then I want to give you a little bit of context. And then Nick, I just sent you 2 little sciencey videos for our
sweet.
Our
and yeah, don't worry, y'all. We're gonna go to space. We always do.
We're actually gonna stay on Earth, but from space.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Okay?
We're looking down this time.
We're looking at Earth like the planet it is, not like the thing we take for granted that we live on, that will never change under any circumstances, no matter what we do on this planet, or how we act, or what kind of emissions or decisions we make in terms of managing our environment or our water supply or anything like that, because it definitely never changes no matter what our actions are, right? No, sorry. Anyway,
no, we don't manage water supplies and things like that in the US or in the world. That's not what we do. The UN already came out
and said we're fucked. Yeah, you didn't see that. No one covered that shit. The UN said we're in a state of water bankruptcy, and 6 billion people are acutely in danger of death. Did we cover that? No. The Epstein files. I'm sorry. Really, that fucking pissed me off. Anyway, we're going to Meta. So the opening statements have been postponed in a bellwether trial underway in California against social video companies, including Meta's Instagram and Google's YouTube, that focuses on a 19-year-old who claims her use of social media from an early age addicted her to technology and exacerbated depression and suicidal thoughts. TikTok and Snapchat and Snapchat parent company Snap Inc. settled the claims. Okay, so instead of actually dealing with the fact that what they're doing is causing young people to kill themselves by exposing developing brains to an algorithm that fucks with your dopamine, changes a child into effectively, they only view themselves as a mirror of what they see on the internet. They are entirely attached to how the internet perceives them. They have no real tangible relationships. They only have relationships to demonstrate that their online persona is who they're connected to online. The quality of friendships, the severity of what this algorithm has done to young people has been entirely ignored. Guys, there's been studies for decades about how this makes kids kill themselves. I don't even care. Like, I'm just for a second, I want to put aside the trafficking and the grooming and all that shit. I just want to talk about when I was in high school. Okay. I'm the pioneer generation. You could say some kids, but when I say I'm the pioneer generation, I mean, I was the first high school generation of kids in that bracket to experience real Instagram, real virality. Who at school had the most followers? Based on how many followers you had, that is how you were determined in value in the high school community. And all of these things, right? Your value is strictly attached to your online persona. Kids were killing themselves 2 or 3 times a year. In my high school, that's only 3,000 kids. Okay, so if you're looking at that from a demographic perspective, that's way too fucking high. Why have 12 kids killed themselves because of social media in my high school? Why did my cross-country team find a young lady hanging from a fucking tree when they were doing their morning run? 15 years old. They're killing kids. I'm not fucking kidding. They're killing children. The disregard for the lives of kids so that they can push their propaganda on these platforms. There is a real fucking cost of life. And Instagram and MySpace, you go back farther, there's a difference between the shift into algorithmically based dopamine trigger like buttons. It's no longer a forum, it's a dopamine producing algorithm. Children already are more vulnerable to getting addicted to dope. You're going to go to what the dopamine likes, but then suddenly all of your fucking value as a human being, the only thing that gives you dopamine is hearts on a screen. I was 16 when I deleted Instagram because I was depressed every day because I only had 400 followers. And I didn't get to go hang out with the other kids because I wasn't over 1,000. You had to have at least a third of the school following you to be fucking anybody. So I deleted that shit. And I turned out way fucking better than my peers. Let me tell you, the people who stuck with it, this is not just about grooming. This is about the untold damage to millions of children. In my situation, right? My brain was already developed past a certain point. I was able to realize, ooh, this is bad for me. This Gen Alpha, whatever they have created, a generation of kids. I remember the first iPad kids. You probably remember the first kid you saw in a grocery store like this, while the parents were pushing them around, not even paying attention to their kid. What do you think that does for the kid? Do you think that doesn't create a sense of abandonment? Like your parents aren't interested in you. They just hand you an iPad whenever you need attention. Do you think that that doesn't have serious, substantial, life-altering effects? If you don't, I can send you 6 studies that show you it fucking does. There is no logical reason that they should even be allowed to fucking settle with this girl. She's 19. So what? They settle and they keep damaging 19-year-olds. Settling is one of the biggest fucking enablers in the American system, that a company can settle for $20 million because it's going to be covered in their next weekly revenue. Like a single Home Depot store will do, several $100 million a year, which means when they pay out, when some guy gets run over by a fucking forklift and they settle with him for $20 million and he retires, that store is going to make up that shortfall in a matter of weeks, right? Like it just does it. And it allows this. And I know I'm heated about this, but I read this paragraph and it reminded me of the fact that I was seeing suicides way more frequently than I should when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
This is not just about that. And this upsets me more that California allowed this woman to settle. Of course, America, it's all about money. You need money to survive. It's more important to take the money you're going to get for these damages as a 19-year-old. So you might actually be able to buy a house. No one else at 19 is going to be able to buy a house. You get a big enough settlement from these guys. Shit, you might actually get a house, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the incentive goes up even more the worse the economy gets. And it's just absolutely like deranged. Like New Mexico with this case, if they settle, the standard practice is it's bribery. A settlement is bribery. Just like how a credit card is debt slavery. They're the same thing. You can call it whatever you want. Oh, it's not slavery. They just choose to work for free. Well, that's not true. No, it's free labor. I have them sign this little document when they get off the boat. It says they're volunteering their time. They're volunteers. No, bro, they're slaves. No, they're volunteers. Oh, I guess it's okay if they're volunteers. Like it sounds extreme, but go ahead and place it. Really, let's just put it there. It's the same shit. So
yeah, I want to, before we switch over to our final parts about our little bit of space talk today, we'll do a little shorter space talk. Is tech has changed brain chemistry. Screen time has changed brain chemistry.
Yeah.
Like the neuroscience behind it is there, that there are changes. What those long-term impacts are, we're not entirely sure because we haven't met the long-term impacts yet. Like we're not at the long-term point, but we can see what some of the near-term impacts have been, which over the last 20 years in a near term in human time frames, 20 years is near term, is we've seen an increase in child anxiety and child depression and young adult and and teen and young adult depression and anxiety and suicide rates. And they can be linked back to the use of technologies that are unsafe or unguarded or unparented, because it's they became tools of parenting rather than parenting. It became easier to hand your kid the iPad. I mean, yeah, we'll see if we can find some studies, Amy, that we can link.
Yeah. I mean, I read them a long
And
time ago. Like I couldn't tell, like, to be candid, I couldn't tell you right now exactly what study it was, but I can tell you like that it certainly exists. And you could probably just Google, like, because over the course of my life, like when I was 17, 18, it was studies that I read that made me get rid of it. Right. Because I was trying to figure out why I had this anxiety.
yeah, um, they've been doing these types of studies for decades now. Like, there are laws that are coming into the books in states around child phone use and child like internet use, and they are hurting kids. It's I don't want to get into an argument over like peer reviewed or not peer reviewed studies. Again, I haven't looked at the studies in a while, but I'm a parent. I grew up with my mom's a psychologist. I have
Your eyes are your
seen
primary
the
source.
changes in myself, and I have seen the changes in my children. And I know when I take my kid's tablet away for a while, when I take my son's tablet away for a little while, a couple days or something, and he's forced to be a person where he has to interact with people and not on the screen, he is a very different person than he is online or when he first loses his tablet, because there is a psychological connection, whether it's peer reviewed study or not. There is a psychological connection between the devices, they're addictive, and the depression and then the anxiety that follows. I don't need a peer review study to tell me what my life experience has been or my child's experience has been. So that's where I'm coming at on this. Is I don't need scientists to tell me that this is happening. I can see it happening.
Yep,
I see it with my kids. I see it with myself. I see with my friends and their kids, and the way that kids are stunted on technology and that they don't understand the fundamentals behind it. We can we can talk about tech in a very different way than kids do. I understand how the internet works. A lot of younger kids don't. A lot of younger kids don't understand that because they didn't have to learn it. They were just given it. We had to learn the tech. We had to figure it out from the get-go. We were the ones who were installing the routers and Wi-Fi setups in our parents' houses and then doing it for our own. And now some of them doing it for their kids. I've seen, I don't want, I mean, we can look up peer reviewed studies, but that's not what this show is about.
No.
So I'm not going to go into I'm not going to detail through peer reviewed studies. I'm just going to go through what I've seen. No. I'm not saying that you're disagreeing with me, Amy. I'm not arguing with you in any way. I hope you want to know. I appreciate that you are pushing, that you have an opinion too, and it's a valid one, is that we need to be smart and safe and appropriate when we talk about studies, and that way we don't fall down rabbit holes or conspiracy theories or become like somebody else or others who just focus on like rage bait. I'm just saying from experience and from enough experience of other parents and talking with a neuropsychologist who deals with child developmental psychology, who is a licensed and retired school psychologist.
She might know a thing.
It has impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
She doesn't need a peer review study for all of the children she has diagnosed and worked with to tell her that there is an impact. I don't need a peer review study to know that there's an impact because of that. And I think we're going to end on our last 10 minutes so that we can get into space a little bit. So
we're going to go into orbit.
Jump off of it. We're going to go into orbit to look back down on ourselves. Correct. Because we need some time away from the surface of this planet. So
I will
First,
leave as we're going
let's
to orbit.
blast off into space.
I have one last thing to say because you said something important, and I always challenge people on this. Everybody, is it really? Do we really want to be too careful about seeing what a conspiracy theory is or not when we know that Epstein literally curated the QAnon conspiracy theory to make it so that we didn't talk about conspiracy theories, so we didn't talk about the Epstein files? So my challenge to everyone who says, well, it could be a conspiracy theory. Reality is a conspiracy theory. That's why they demonize the word. That's why the CIA created the term, because it's not a conspiracy theory in taking it literally. Is there's a conspiracy and we have a theory if that is in fact a conspiracy. That's literally the fundamental basis of research. You make a hypothesis and you test it. So,
and if we're wrong, we'll admit
theory.
And yeah, and the thing that separates me from a conspiracy theorist is when I'm wrong, I'll admit it and I'll say, hey, that was stupid. Or I won't even talk about things until I know that I have enough information to talk about them. Like, I didn't talk about the Epstein files until information started fucking coming out. And I knew that there was some shit going on there. And yeah, the QAnon theory had some truth behind it. The theories there. That said, QAnon is dangerous as fuck because they took conspiracy theories and then they made them so that they were conspiratorial.
Correct.
So that they poisoned the well of what theorizing ideas and asking questions could do. Like, nobody asks questions about certain things because we've poisoned our own well in that. So
now,
also,
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Also, and now I'm just going to point out Mel Gibson sucks in every movie that he's in because
Mel
he's
Gibson's
a fucking horrible anti-Semite and fucking prick.
Like, him and Ryan Reynolds.
I loved his movies. I loved Mel Gibson. The Patriot. What was the one about Scotland? Braveheart. I can't watch those movies anymore.
To be
Some
fair,
of my favorite, Lethal Weapon. Love the Lethal Weapon movies. Won't watch them because he's a giant piece of shit who ruined manhood for himself.
Absolutely.
Wait, Ryan Reynolds too?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. They're all fascists, bro. You don't get to that point and not brush elbows. It just sucks. But I think it could be a good thing if we're able to really kill current Hollywood. Because speaking of toxic things that make people do things that are very unhealthy for themselves and place unrealistic standards against themselves, it's probably good if we do a little bit. The one thing they were always right about is we do need to drain the swamp. It's fucking stinky in here, and Shrek would be fucking squatting, and he's got a nice swamp. So if Shrek would be squatting in our swamp, we got to do something about that. Unless him and Fiona are fighting, he shouldn't be over here.
You're not wrong.
Let's go to space. Orbit.
Let's go, man. I'm getting there. I'm trying to find the video somewhere. There we go.
I was trying to make me zoom away, but I couldn't do it. I was trying to zoom out into orbit. Okay, she's great. I love her. So she's going to tell us about a tree.
Okay, let me play this video, and then we got a second one that follows it too.
Yes.
Imagery of Utah, and hidden right here is a scientific marvel unlike anything else on Earth. On the surface, it looks like a regular forest, but every single one of these 47,000 trees is a clone of one another, connected by a giant underground root system. So these are all actually limbs of one giant aspen tree, which means this tree spans 106 acres. It's so weird that a lot of it is still a huge mystery, including its age. Scientists have given a very broad estimate of its age of somewhere between 16,000 and 80,000 years old. Even if it's only 30,000 years old, this tree has seen major droughts and the peak of the last ice age, which in Utah meant mammoths and giant ground sloths and saber-toothed tigers wandering around it. It also would have seen glaciers and a giant lake that rivaled Lake Michigan that covered almost all of Utah. The tree would have seen this land before and after the arrival of humans and outlived many societies. Scientists think that the tree stems were burned down in wildfires multiple times, but because the root system survived, they sprouted up again. It weighs 13.2 million pounds, making it easily the largest known living organism in the entire world. And even if it's thousands of years younger than even the youngest estimates, it's still easily the oldest known living organism in the world. This is satellite imagery of Utah and
You can
hidden.
see the biggest
That's
tree on
pretty
the
awesome.
planet from space.
For
How
space.
did you know that? How about them apples? We like that. Also, we can thank that tree for probably a small but noticeable percentage of the oxygen that we breathe. That tree works really hard for us. We should thank that tree because it's been pumping out oxygen for thousands of years.
Yeah, thank a tree. Go hug a tree. Go
hug
touch
a
grass.
tree.
Go touch
I
grass
promise-
today and go hug a tree. Like, go hug a redwood. Go hug a sequoia if you got one. Those are
Yes.
some old ass trees.
All right, guys, I'll be gone for the rest of the day. I got to hop in my car and drive 8 hours so I can go hug a redwood tree. So
Heck
I have
yeah.
to cancel the rest of the day so I can drive.
And tomorrow.
Let's
You'll
go.
be canceling tomorrow. And
Tomorrow?
just
I could do it in one day as long as it's just one hug, right?
Just-
It's like if I left right now. and
film
I-
yourself for like an hour just hugging the tree. That'll be your firebrand report, is Shane hugging a tree. That would be a good firebrand report.
I would, like what if maybe we'll just do like a documentary, like this is Shane going to hug a tree and we'll just go live all day, and like,
love
what are
it.
you doing? You're just driving to San Francisco to hug a
With
tree.
you like a little paintbrush there too, so you could like Bob Ross it. Happy little tree. I'm painting this happy little tree. Happy
Happy
30,000-year-old, 300 or 30,000-year-old tree that's
Yeah.
100 something acres wide. Just gonna paint all these happy trees. It's one
Yeah.
big tree. I love that. Okay, now we're gonna do video number 2, which is around the largest gravitational anomaly. See an enemy. Largest gravitational anomaly on Earth is a mystery in the Indian Ocean, and we're gonna let her explain it to us because why the fuck not?
The Earth's gravity from the European Space Agency, and there's obviously something really weird happening. What this map is showing is that right here, you'll weigh a little more than right here. There's a little more gravity right here. The Earth is rotating and it's lumpy and it's not completely symmetrical in all directions. It's wider at the equator than it is at the pole, so gravity isn't the same everywhere. But obviously, the weirdest part about this map is that there's a giant gravity hole
cool
in the
map.
Indian Ocean. Right here, you have the Himalayas, which is a strong concentration of mass, so it has more gravity. And then right here is the largest gravitational anomaly on Earth. So big that if the ocean were perfectly calm and only controlled by Earth's gravity and rotation, this area would be 348 feet below average sea level. We do, however, have winds and currents and tides, so ships aren't sailing down into a hole. So it's invisible, even though this anomaly is over 1 million square miles and almost the size of India itself. So why is this here? I don't know. Scientists don't know. I do think it's worth mentioning that this is the path the Indian tectonic plate took. And the Earth isn't uniform inside. But why does that cause a giant gravity hole? Don't know. Also, just to be clear, these are all very dramatic. This isn't something you would, notice. This is a map of the Earth's gravity from
Okay,
the
flat
European
earthers,
Space.
get fucked. Even if it was all flat, it wouldn't be flat because you're dumb. We
Yeah.
got them. We
You
got
got
'em.
them, guys.
We got the
And-
flat earthers.
Also, there are cats. Like, cats push everything off the edge of things. So
Yeah.
if the Earth was really flat, cats would have pushed everything off by now. So fuck you, flat earthers.
Don't be scared. None of this is scary. Like I know it can be perceived as scary, but I promise, what we don't know, we can't be. The reality is we like Socrates. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. Okay, stop assuming you know anything, right? Like we showed the ESA website yesterday, and
Or
our
last
best
week?
knowledge, or last week,
That was so cool.
Our best knowledge, our best pictures. When we pointed a better camera, what did we see? We saw millions more galaxies behind those galaxies. We know nothing. And, I always say, it's like, don't let human hubris limit yourself to what could be possible. Anything is possible. We know absolutely nothing at all functionally. And what we've learned more recently than anything else is that we're wrong time and time again. The scientific model of fact, right? You have a law, right? There's very few laws. Laws are generally used to describe some sort of physical force, like gravity. We know how gravity works. We know gravity affects things. We can see a gravity hole. We know about gravity. We know about, how light travels. We know that there's redshift, right? We're able to put a law on certain things. How we actually explain things is always a theory at best. Like actually complex relationships, they're all theories. And to get to those theories, you need a hypothesis. It could be wrong. So we should just, the world is not about proving yourself right. It should be about proving yourself wrong, because you'll get a lot farther in that case. And so that's what space is good for.
Yeah. And this one's really cool too, because we don't actually know what why it's still there. We do from what she was explaining to us, it's pretty straightforward that it follows the path of the tectonic plate movement of India. But why did nothing fill back in? Because tectonic plates still move around it. So what happened to the rest? What happened there? Why is it doing why is it doing what it is doing? And it's okay that we don't know the answer. To me, that's not scary. When I hear things that I don't know, they're not scary to me.
No,
they become questions of, that's exciting. It's, what can I learn more about? That's what separates those who like moving forward and want to progress in society and those who want to regress. Is we're willing to ask the question without fear of what the answer might be to that question.
Yeah.
We're able to ask the question of what's underneath, what's next, what don't we know? And that excites us. And that should excite all of you too. All of you who are with us today, being able to ask that next question. That's why Shane and I ask all these extra questions. That's why we push back on each other when we throw ideas to each other, and we get ideas from y'all, and we like having these discussions about what happens with kids and technology use and screens. And it's okay that we have differing ideas and results on what happened, because we have different lived experiences. And we can eventually find a unified truth between all of those. And that's okay. We ask those questions. My favorite question to ask at the end of this show is, how can I support my friends? And one of the things I say that because that's a big piece of what Banner and Backbone is how can I support my friends, and how can I come back to earth here and promote the work that my friends are doing and get my friends a larger visibility, because the work that Shane's doing, before Shane talks here, the work that Shane's doing is really important. Shane is covering a lot of the world developments and global news around tech, and how the US and various ways, without always meaning to, how tech has ruined the world, how our tech has globalized fascism and is ruining the world. And he does a really good job explaining what is going on. He makes it easier for you to understand. He puts out an incredible report every day, every weekday, and we rebroadcast it here on Banner and Backbone while he's live, so that Shane gets our audience too, because Shane is a huge part of Banner and Backbone, and the Firebrand Project is his home. And I want you to support him at his home, because he deserves the support for the work he's doing, and because we want more of it. We want to be able to understand what's going on these global outcomes, and where our tech is being used, or what is happening in Africa that nobody is talking about, or what is happening in South America where people aren't talking about as much. Shane is going into a lot of the amazing areas that people are not talking about, and keeping a focus on folks who aren't the primary news source. We hear a lot about Ukraine, but we don't always hear a lot about Palestine. We don't hear a lot about Africa. We don't hear a lot about the places that are less skin dominantly our color.
Global South in global.
The global South. Shane has a way of exposing the truth around that in a good way. to help us understand what's going on. So go support my boy Shane Yirak over at the Firebrand Project.
Appreciate it.
Promote yourself more if there's
Yeah,
any more
for
you want to
sure.
say.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Nick. Nick, I think Nick puts essentially, honestly, how more so than my wordiness can do it. But yeah, look, there's so many connections all around this world. Everything is interconnected. Okay. We use the term globalism literally. We also don't always understand just how interconnected the decisions made in a boardroom in New York City, how potently that affects a impoverished population in Sudan or in the Democratic Republic of the Congo or Tanzania or Niger. Okay, it doesn't matter where you go. The reality is that the current model is so wildly interconnected, and that the current economy, the current leadership in the world is based on extraction. Okay. Extraction dominates. They need to extract. So for us to understand where things are going to go in America, we actually have to understand the outside pressures, because what's going to affect your day-to-day life more than the Epstein files is the ramifications of a total global trade decoupling of the United States. That's what I want to tell you about. That's what I think is important for you to know. I think that what might take down this government might not be us at all. It might have to be a cooperative effort between us and seizing opportunities caused by geopolitical triggers. We can't do this if we don't have the whole story. And that's what I'm committed to doing every day here at the Firebrand Project, and building out this newsletter, and ultimately getting us to a point where we can have, imagine a world where we, in whatever capacity we have, whether that's through a Banner and Backbone Firebrand Project partnership, whether that's through something else, we can give you a correspondent for Africa where you can go and get someone who put it together the way you need to understand it. Not some high-minded .org, website that can't be translated. That's what you guys are buying into, right? That's what you guys are participating in. Like, me and Nick are not stopping here. In fact, we know the shoes that we need to fill and the trust that you've put in us. And trust me when I say that we're working together to find a way to give you guys a place that is not owned by fascists to get everything you need. And that unfortunately kind of goes to Substack too. So it's about putting our feet down, working hard, doing what we're doing now. We're almost to 200 paid subs on the Firebrand Project. I want to say we're at 196. For you guys, you can push us over the edge. That'd be cool. But come support me. Come watch the show. Just because you guys being there, being a Firebrand, you talk about this. And it makes you so much more important than any other reporter in someone else's news cycle, because you have the opportunity to talk about that, which is something that the majority of people do not. So it's collaborative. It's between you, and whether it's with Palantalk too. This is a collaborative effort. If you guys didn't come and watch, we wouldn't do this, because we could use our time differently. But because you guys come here and we know you're going to talk about the things we talked about with other people, that's why we do this. And come and support me while I do that for geopolitics, as well as I'm going to say you got to go and support Nick, because what I do for geopolitics, Nick does for the human mind, for the human heart, and for the good of society, in promoting a healthy discourse, in promoting healthy ego and how you carry yourself, whether that's as a man, whether that's as a communicator, whether that's how you treat and deal with others with chronic illnesses. There is no shortage of things that Nick does exceptionally well. And when it comes to the mind and heart, Nick is exceptional. Support him, because as important as it is for me and other people who talking about those important key aspects of the Epstein files, not all of them, those key points, whether it's, me talking about world politics, or Nick talking about what it is to be a good, kind human being, which is in short supply. So guys, you got to go support Nick and engage with this content, because that's also part of this whole message. It all comes together, right? You have to have all of these things to give grounded, moral reporting and build a community that works. So go support Nick at Sick of This Shit, because that's his home base for all that good stuff.
Thanks, man. And yeah, we're not going to get out of this unless we do better humaning, and we need a better human. So that's really one of my main focuses, is better humaning. It takes the shape of intelligent masculinity and chronic illness discussions and what I call notes of the week with my friend Walter Ryan. But it takes the shape of intelligent masculinity because, like I say, women aren't the problem right now. Men are. We're the problem, and we need to fix ourselves. It's on us. It's our responsibility to do the hard work. We don't get to outsource that responsibility to others. We have to do the work. And so that's what I'm trying to do over at Sick of This Shit Publications. So come help support me over there. We're nearing 300 paid subs. We're at the 250 plus mark. So please come help support. Like, help me get to 300 paid subs. Once I get there, I'm going to release another piece of classical music. I do that every 50 paid subs. So please keep coming and joining me over on Sick of This Shit Publications. We're rapidly growing and working on some amazing stuff over there. And then finally, come support Banner and Backbone. Come help me make this possible over here and build the tools that we need and offer a process, say, for onboarding for creators to be able to come on and easily join into a community and have their message dispersed in really simple ways and have their message blasted out there so that we can be obnoxious for democracy.
Like that.
My dog bells are going off. They're obnoxious for democracy too.
That's all about tomorrow.
Like, my dogs bark at fascists. They say no
Good.
fascism here.
Good.
And come join Banner and Backbone though. We need this. This is our community. We're building the tools. We're putting things together that are coming out for folks to be able to use, to be able to handle. We've got our community calendar on broadbanner.com, www.broadbanner.com. Dogs for Democracy, barks for freedom. And my dogs bark for freedom. And they bark for democracy, and they want to be on offense. And this is our way of going on offense, is giving you all the tools to also be able to bring this home. So help support Banner and Backbone as we continue to expand, as we continue to have these discussions. I have to reach back out to them. They just joined the chat late. Is Clearroot. Shane, I'd like you to take a look at their page too. I want to look to see if we can figure out what's more about the tool that they're developing, that he's putting together. It's an ethical AI tool. And I want to see if, like, how community supported pieces, like folks who come out with incredible tooling. And I'm just going to say, I'm just calling you out, Clearroot, in this way, just shouting you out because I saw your profile and you messaged me and you were active in our last chat. And I want to make sure that one of my last chats, and I looked at your site, and I want to make sure that I can learn more about it, because if it is a tool that is super helpful, I want to use it. Like, if we can build our own tools that are super helpful, where we don't have to rely on corporate fascists or other groups like that, that's what we need. We need folks to come out and say, I got an idea, let me put this together, and then send it to us. Like, be like, hey, I know I'm part of your community. This is a super awesome tool that I've started to put together, and I want to get your feedback on it. And more often than not, Shane and I will try it. Like, Shane and I will try stuff. We want to be a good leverage point for others to be able to break into this community and know that the efforts that they're making are meaningful, because there's 1 million issues, or there's 10 million issues, or there's 100 million issues for 100 million voices. And we can all share in those voices. So thanks, everyone. And yeah, I'll reach out. I got your message, your DM, Clearroot. I just haven't had time to respond yet. I'd love to reach out and talk to you at least behind the scenes first and introduce ourselves and see what we can learn. And maybe Shane and I can talk with you for a couple of minutes about what the tool that you created and what we might be able to do possibly some stress testing for you to see what it looks like and what the results produce. And if you want some feedback, I know I'm offering some of Shane's time without asking him, but I'm offering my time a little bit, is if we can help and see and product test basically, and if this is a tool that would be really useful, like, I'd love to integrate useful tools into our systems that help make our lives easier, because the easier it is for us, the easier it is for y'all. Like, this is the free entry point. You don't have to pay for Banner and Backbone. Would I love it if you became a paid subscriber? Absolutely. But you don't have to pay to get any of our content, and you never will. And that's our thing, is you will never pay for Banner and Backbone unless you choose to, unless you want to be a part of the community, and unless you want to help. And if you want to help support subscriber growth and content distribution growth for some of your favorite creators, come help us. Come support Banner and Backbone. And as we like to say, and we've kept ourselves a little long today, but that's okay, because we like to ramble. We always do.
We happen to ramble quite a bit.
We happen to be ramblers, and we're going to be rambling on because that's what we like to do. This is Banner and Backbone. This has been Palantalk, and we like to talk here where there's tech.
No fascism.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great
Thank you,
afternoon.